Heartwarming encounter revealed. Millionaire discovers amazing talent in poor boy dancing with heart. The dusty streets of Jake's small town seemed to whisper tales of despair, but today, as the sun dipped low, casting a golden hue over the cracks in the pavement, something magical was about to happen. Jake, a 12-year-old boy with dreams that sparkled even through the grime, twirled and leaped on the sidewalk. His ragged sneakers danced against the harsh concrete, a stark contrast to the vibrant energy he poured into every step. His body moved like the wind, each spin an echo of hope against the weight of economic strife that burdened every corner of his hometown. Jake was lost in his art, performing for those who glanced his way, hoping their extra coins would slide into his open palm. Mary, Jake's mother, a war veteran with a heart so full yet weighed down by worries, watched from the apartment window, her heart swelling with pride and sorrow. Their home bare, filled with bills from medical expenses and overdue rent, was made warmer by love, but Jake felt the weight of that love as well. His mother had sacrificed so much, and while their lives were painted in shades of struggle, Jake found his brush in dance, expressing what words couldn't. Just as Jake hit his stride, twirling with the exuberance of youth, a tall figure entered the scene. Mr. Harrison, a businessman known for his charity work. As he walked down the main street, his eyes landed on Jake, who was pouring everything into his performance. Jake's determination mesmerized him. He watched as the boy danced, not just for coins, but for a dream seeming almost too big for a small town. Mr. Harrison's heart ached with admiration. He approached, captivated. "Young man," he said, easing the awkwardness with a smile. "That was incredible. Have you ever thought about dance school?" Jake froze, the words hitting his chest like a summer thunderstorm. Could he leave his mom? The idea sparkled, but it was instant turmoil in his heart. "I want to, but my mom." Before he could voice his doubts, the tension thickened. A nearby shopkeeper, old Mrs. Thompson, piped up, "What do you mean you want to take him away? We all support him here." There was a ripple, shock among the crowd. Some nodded, others murmured, their voices rising. "Maybe he deserves a chance," shouted one of the old-timers, fists shaking. "But not at the cost of home, Mr. Harrison." The atmosphere crackled with a mix of hope and defiance. Jake felt all eyes on him, pinning him to the spot, his heart racing. Each face in the crowd held history and struggle. They had dreams too. Jake's dance wasn't just for him, it was a voice for all of them, swirling around him in a partnership of ferocious resilience. As he moved, he took in their hopes, his own heart hammering against loyalty and longing. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the final notes of Jake's song echoed down the street, he stood there breathless, caught between two worlds, the love for his mother and the pull of promise. Could he really follow this shining path? With every expression in the crowd, every cheer fueling his spirit, Jake's dance became a question hanging in the air. Would he dare to chase a dream, leaving the only place he ever called home? The answer loomed heavy with possibility, leaving everyone, especially Jake, with a profound sense of anticipation. Jake stood frozen on the sidewalk, his chest heaving as the echoes of his performance faded into the vibrant hues of dusk. The chatter from the crowd buzzed like a swarm of bees, each voice a fragment of hope or hesitation. Glancing over at his mother, he caught sight of her watching him from the window, and for a moment, the world narrowed down to just the two of them. He saw the pride in her eyes, but also the flicker of worry, a reflection of the sacrifices she had made. "Young man, you have a gift," Mr. Harrison said again, softer this time, sensing the weight of indecision hanging heavily on Jake's shoulders. "You could shine brighter than this town has ever seen." Faces in the crowd shifted from anticipation to concern, as murmurs brushed through the air like a light wind. Jake felt the familiar tug of his heart, half wishing for freedom, half rooted in loyalty, caught in a tempest of emotion. Mr. Harrison, he began, his voice barely above a whisper. What if I can't go back? What if it changes everything? The millionaire's brow furrowed, and Jake could see the understanding written in his eyes. Change can be daunting, he said. But remember, sometimes stepping out into the unknown leads to unimaginable things. A voice from the back, a weathered old man, shouted, You owe it to yourself, boy. But we're all family here. Don't forget us. The tension hung, a delicate balance between devotion and aspiration. Jake turned once more towards the crowd, feeling the heat of their stares. His heart raced as he recalled every moment in that cracked living room, every time he'd seen his mother labor through the night. What will happen to Mom? He finally asked, his voice cracking under the strain of possibility. Silence enveloped the street, thick with the weight of his question. Mary's gentle voice broke through. Honey, I've always wanted you to pursue your dreams. You have a future beyond this street, if you want it. Her smile was laced with bittersweet love, an understanding that while she wanted him to reach for the stars, it also meant letting him go. Dreams need roots, Jake said, a sudden spark igniting within him. But they also need wings. As the words spilled from his lips, clarity washed over him like a sudden rain. What if chasing his dream didn't have to mean abandoning what mattered most? The thought was freeing, and it ebbed away the fears that weighed him down. He glanced back at Mr. Harrison, whose hopeful expression kindled something deep inside Jake. Could he really blend these two worlds? Okay, Jake said, stronger now. Maybe I can find a way to chase my dream, and still be here when it counts. A murmur of approval rolled through the crowd, smiles emerging like sunlight breaking after a storm. Mr. Harrison's eyes lit up. Then let's find a way to make that happen together. In that moment, hope swelled within Jake as he felt the collective warmth of his community wrapping around him. The moment was bittersweet, the path ahead uncertain, but it shimmered with possibilities. As night fell, Jake took a deep breath, committing to his decision. Tomorrow, I'll dance again, he announced, excitement buzzing in his belly. Only this time, I'll be dancing for everyone. The crowd erupted into cheers, voices blending into a chorus of encouragement. But deep down, a question lingered in Jake's mind. What challenges lay ahead as he sought to balance his dreams with a life that had always been defined by love and sacrifice? Unbeknownst to him, the answer was waiting just around the corner. Jake woke to the sound of soft rain tapping against his window, the rhythmic beats providing a comforting backdrop to his swirling thoughts. The moment from last night replayed in his mind, each cheer from the crowd fueling his determination. He felt alive, on the cusp of something extraordinary, but the weight of responsibility tugged at him too. Today would be his first step into balancing both worlds. As he dressed, he stole glances at his mother, still sleeping peacefully. A genuine smile crept across his face as he took in the lines of care etched on her forehead. Here was the woman who had invested her hopes and dreams in him. He promised himself he would find a way to make both their dreams flourish. After breakfast, Jake grabbed his backpack and headed out to meet Mr. Harrison. Excitement and nerves danced within him as he walked through the neighborhood, passing familiar faces. He greeted the older folks sitting on porches, waved to the kids playing in yards, and felt their eyes on him. Their gazes held a kind of hope that urged him forward. The community center was buzzing when he arrived. Music echoed off the walls, making the air feel alive with possibility. Mr. Harrison was already there, deep in conversation with a few local artists. When he spotted Jake, his face broke into a wide smile. There you are. Ready to take the next step? Yeah, but what does that even look like? Jake asked, struggling to suppress his excitement. I mean, how do I balance everything? Mr. Harrison led him to a corner of the center, where mirrors lined the walls. Let's start here, he said, gesturing for Jake to warm up. Feel the music in your bones, let it guide you. Then we'll discuss a plan. Jake nodded, feeling the energy of the growing crowd. He stepped into the space, closing his eyes for a second as the music poured over him. It took only a moment before he lost himself in the rhythm, his body moving fluidly, every step echoing the joy and the fear he grappled with in his heart. The world around him faded, there was just him and the dance. As he spun and leaped, he couldn't help but notice the expressions on the faces watching him. There was joy, admiration, and even tears. In that moment, he felt the connection to his community deepen. This dance was for them an offering of hope, and a promise that he wouldn't forget where he came from. When the music faded, Jake stood breathless, a thin sheen of sweat clinging to his skin. The applause was overwhelming, as appreciative shouts filled the air. He grinned, filled with an adrenaline surge. "That was amazing, Jake." Mr. Harrison clapped him on the back. "Now, let us talk strategy." But before they could dive into the details, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. It was Tiffany, the girl from school who always seemed out of reach. Her eyes widened as she stepped closer, taking in the scene. "Jake, that was incredible. I had no idea you could move like that." Jake felt everything inside him shift. There was a light in her gaze that made him forget about the future for just a second. "Thanks. I mean, it's just something I've always loved to do." Tiffany smiled, her cheeks blooming with color. "Do you have any plans now? Any shows or something? Because I think you should share this with a bigger audience." His heart raced. She wanted to talk about his dreams, about chasing something beyond the town. Suddenly, the path ahead became even more complicated. "Yeah. I'm thinking about it," he responded slowly, not sure what to say, but deep down, Jake felt the familiar knot of anxiety tighten. Juggling his dreams and his roots was going to be harder than he thought. Could he really step out into that bigger world while staying grounded in the place he loved? Just as he gazed into Tiffany's eyes searching for answers or maybe just a glimpse of acceptance, a shadow passed behind her. Jake turned to see the worried face of his mother approaching. The questions crowded in again. Would she support him? How would he balance this burgeoning vision with her anxiety for his future? The rain had stopped, but the storm of choices was just getting started. Jake held his breath as his mother approached, her brow furrowed in concern. The lively atmosphere of the community center dimmed for a moment, overshadowed by the weight of her presence. When she reached him, Jake could see the worry in her eyes, the same eyes that had always held a deep-seated love for him but now reflected fear about what his dreams might entail. "Mom, hey," he said cautiously, trying to gauge her mood. "What's up?" "Jake, I saw you dancing," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. "You were amazing. But I worry about what comes next. The bigger things you might want to do, Mom. I know you're concerned, but this is how I express myself," he insisted, feeling his chest tighten. "It's important to me. I want to share it. I want to." She cut him off gently. "I understand, sweetie. I do. But you also have to think about stability, about a future. What if this doesn't work out? What if?" Jake could feel frustration bubbling inside him. His plans, his dreams, they felt so real, so within reach. But his mother's worry tugged at his heartstrings. Did she really think her support might waver with every step he took? "Mom, I can manage. I promise. I'll find a way to juggle it all. This isn't just dance to me, it's about who I am." Her gaze softened a little, but shadows lingered. "I just don't want you to get hurt." "I know," he replied, softening his tone. "But this is my chance to break out of everything. I want to make you proud. I want to make us proud." Behind him, he could hear Mr. Harrison clearing his throat, ready to jump in, but Jake felt like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, teetering between fear and freedom. "Okay, here's what we'll do," Mr. Harrison interjected, stepping forward with a determined look on his face. "We'll set up small performances first. Just local spots. It's a way to get your feet wet and see if this is the step you really want to take." Tiffany chimed in, her enthusiasm rekindling some of the energy in the air. "Yes. I can help with that. I know a couple of places that love to showcase local talent. We can get you in front of an audience, and you can see how it feels. Jake glanced between the two, the urging optimism from Tiffany and the caution from his mother, and then he felt a warmth spreading in his chest. What if this was how he could bring both worlds together? Show his mom that he could pursue his passion while staying connected to where he belonged? Okay, he said, a newfound determination in his voice. Let us do it. I want to start small, just like you said. And, Mom, if I stumble, I'll come right back. We'll figure it out together. His mother exhaled, her shoulders relaxing just a bit. It won't be easy, but I'll be there for you. Every step, Jake. As he prepared to step back into the space to continue practicing, he felt the spark of something new igniting within him, a blend of hope and anxiety that was both daunting and exhilarating. He could see a path forming, a way to blend his dreams with his responsibilities, but then, just as he began to relax, another unexpected moment pulled at his heartstrings. A tall figure walked into the center, his charismatic laugh booming above the crowd. It was Ryan, the town's prodigy, known for his success in a bigger world than their little town could capture. The crowd turned, eager eyes landing on him like moths to a flame. Jake's heart sank. Ryan was everything he aspired to be, but was also everything he feared. Was he prepared for the world that Ryan represented? As Ryan locked eyes with Jake, a challenging smile crossed his face. Hey there, I heard about your dance. Glad to see you're making moves, Jake. Think you can keep up with the big leagues? Jake swallowed hard, feeling the weight of competition and expectation. This was the moment of truth. Would he rise to the occasion, or would he shrink back? The room felt electric, and all he could think was he needed to prove himself, not just to Ryan, but to everyone cheering for him, especially his mother. Jake took a deep breath, steadied his heart, and thought, this is just the beginning. But what if he discovered that stepping into the light also meant facing the shadows of doubt? Jake's pulse quickened as Ryan's gaze bore into him, a powerful mix of confidence and intimidation radiating from the town prodigy. Laughter bubbled around them, but within Jake, a thick tension settled. Could he really stand up to someone with Ryan's kind of talent? Or would this moment define him as merely a dreamer? Big leagues, huh? Jake finally replied, forcing a smile. Maybe, but I'll get there, one step at a time. Ryan laughed, a sound that echoed throughout the center, drawing even more eyes their way. One step at a time. Come on, don't you think you should be aiming higher? You've got some moves, but he let his voice trail off, the challenge hanging between them. Jake clenched his fists, feeling the pressure rising. You don't know what I can do, Ryan. The seriousness in his voice surprised even him. That's the spirit. Tiffany chimed in, her smile infectious. Prove him wrong, Jake. Mr. Harrison, sensing the tension, stepped in. How about a little friendly competition? A showcase. We could organize something soon, give you both a chance to shine. Jake looked at Ryan, who raised an eyebrow in mock consideration. You think you're ready for that, Jake? The words ignited a fire in Jake. Absolutely. I'll take that challenge. Excitement washed over him, mixing with anxiety. This could be an opportunity, but it could also be his downfall. However, as he glanced back at his mother, she gave him a small, encouraging nod. He needed to do this not just for himself, but for her belief in him. As the chatter faded, Jake stepped away to practice. Every movement was intense, filled with a mix of hope and determination. He wanted to drown out his fears, losing himself in the rhythm. But the memory of Ryan's words echoed in his mind. What if he failed? Yet, in that uncertainty, a thought flickered. What if failure was simply a step toward success? He could not dwell on what could go wrong, he needed to focus on the thrill of stepping into the spotlight. After a while, he noticed his mother watching from the corner, her hands clasped together. The warmth in her eyes fueled his energy. He was doing this for her, but also for himself. He began to push boundaries he didn't know he had. Days turned into weeks, filled with sweating and practicing. Each time he found himself doubting, he thought of that showcase against Ryan. It was no longer just about proving something, it was about the journey he was undertaking. Then, one chilly evening, as Jake tied his shoes before practice, he received a text from Tiffany. Big news. The venue for the showcase is set. Ryan wants to make it official. He's going all out. A rush of excitement and nervousness struck him. This was it. The world would see him. But as the date loomed closer, whispers of fear crawled back in. What if he wasn't enough? What if the spotlight swallowed him whole instead of shining on him? Jake took a breath and lifted his chin. He had fought for this, and he wasn't going to let the anxiety steal that from him. As he rehearsed, immersing himself in the visuals of the audience cheering him on, he could feel the adrenaline pulse through his veins. Footsteps approached, and it was Ryan again, but this time he didn't look so intimidating. Hey, Jake. Ryan's tone was almost friendly. You're really pushing it, huh? Just remember to have fun. Thanks, I will, Jake replied, still trying to read Ryan's mood. As Ryan walked further away, Jake felt a shift. Maybe there was more to Ryan than that competitive edge. Maybe this was a chance for them to grow, not just as dancers but as people who understood each other's dreams. The day arrived, bright and buzzing. Backstage was a hub of energy and nerves. Jake paced, his heart racing, but amidst the chaos, something clicked. He quietly reminded himself that he was not just there to dance, he was there to show who he truly was. And suddenly, he felt ready. But just as he stepped up to the curtain, a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. Was he really ready to face not only Ryan but the expectations of everyone who cared about him? Determined to silence those fears, he took a deep breath, feeling the wooden floor beneath his feet and the world around him fall away. The curtain parted, and the lights flooded over him, bright and unyielding. Jake stepped forward, heart pounding louder than anything. But in that rush, he wondered, would this moment reshape his destiny or break him? Jake barely had time to blink as the lights engulfed him. The audience's roar rushed to his ears like a tidal wave. He stood there, frozen for a split second, feeling the heat of countless eyes upon him. But then, the music started to flow, a deep, rhythmic beat that pulsed through his bones. His body instinctively began to move, breaking free from the paralysis of fear. Every step was a declaration, every twirl a challenge, and as he let himself get lost in the music, he could feel the exhilaration building. He glanced out into the crowd. Among the faces, he spotted his mother, her eyes shining with pride and her smile wide. That single look ignited him. He was here to dance, not just against Ryan but for everyone who believed in him, everyone who cheered him on even from afar. With newfound energy, Jake launched into his routine, pouring every ounce of emotion into the dance. He leaped, spun, and as the spotlight traced his movements, he felt untouchable. Each beat of the music matched the rhythm of his heart, a powerful reminder that this was his moment. But then, from the corner of his vision, he noticed Ryan. The boy stood stage left, the confident smirk replaced with an intensity that matched Jake's own. Realizing they were both in this together sent another wave of adrenaline through him. There was a strange camaraderie forming, an unspoken understanding that grew with every move they made. As the music reached a crescendo, Jake incorporated a move he had spent countless hours perfecting. He flew through the air with reckless abandon, embracing the gravity-defying spirit of dance. The audience erupted in cheers, a roar of appreciation that filled the space with electric energy. Just as he landed, he caught a glimpse of Ryan. To his surprise, Ryan was nodding in approval, a genuine look of encouragement. Was this competition? Or was it something more? Jake finished his performance with a flourish, his heart thriving on the joy of the moment. The song concluded, and for a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the audience burst into applause, an overwhelming wave of sound that swallowed Jake whole. He took a bow, feeling the warmth of acceptance wash over him, blooming inside his chest, but as he stepped off the stage, reality kicked in. What did this performance mean? Would it reshape everything in ways he couldn't even fathom? Seeing Ryan approach him, Jake felt a mix of anxiety and curiosity. Not bad, dreamer, Ryan said, grinning. There was something genuine in his voice, different from the needling tone from before. You might just be ready for the big leagues. Jake's stomach twisted. This was Ryan, the one who had always set the bar so high. But as he searched for the right words, those doubts lurked in the shadows again. What if Ryan was just being nice? What if the applause was just a moment of sympathy and didn't mean anything? Before he could voice his concerns, Tiffany rushed backstage, eyes alight. You were amazing, Jake. The crowd loved you. Jake tried to smile, but the weight of uncertainty crept back in. The fight in him burned, but was it enough? He had shown his talent, yet he couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of a much deeper journey. As he stood there, surrounded by supportive cheers, the curtain separating triumph from expectations tugged at him. How would he handle what was to come? And just as he started to feel a hint of clarity, Ryan pulled him closer again. We're going to have a talk after this, Ryan said, his eyes sparkling with something Jake couldn't quite put his finger on. All at once, Jake found himself teetering on that precipice between fear and hope, between self-doubt and potential. What revelation would this encounter bring? And as he felt the electric current flow around him, one question lingered in the air: was he ready for whatever lay beyond? Jake's heart raced as the applause thundered around him. The weight of the crowd's admiration was intoxicating, yet it was overshadowed by the storm of emotions swirling within. He watched Ryan, whose expression had shifted from that of a competitor to something more elusive, an ally perhaps. What could this conversation mean for him? Jake. Tiffany pulled him back from his thoughts. You have to see the other contestants. They won't expect you to shine like that. Right, Jake replied, unsure whether that shine was genuine or if it just masked the uncertainty brewing inside him. His heart was still thumping from the performance, but now it mixed uneasily with doubt. The backstage area buzzed with excitement. Other dancers shared their performances, exchanging laughter and high fives. But Jake felt slightly out of place. He had stood before the audience and danced his heart out, yet the praise felt strange, as if it didn't quite belong to him. As he tried to shake off the unease, Ryan walked over. Hey, do you have a minute? Jake's stomach nodded again. Sure. What do you want to talk about? Look, Ryan began, his voice steady, I know we've had our differences, but you really surprised me tonight. You've got something special. Jake searched Ryan's gaze for signs of mockery but found only sincerity. Thanks, he managed, feeling bashful under that intense scrutiny. You need to let that talent out more. The routine, the passion, you've got what it takes to go further than this. You just need to believe it, Ryan encouraged. Believe it? Jake echoed, skepticism lacing his voice. You mean when everyone else just thinks I got lucky or something? No. Ryan's voice lifted, cutting through Jake's defiance. Anyone who saw you dance knows it was more than that. Performances aren't just about skill, they're about feeling and connection. You nailed it. Jake opened his mouth to argue but found no words. Perhaps Ryan was right, the energy, the connection, it had felt electric. But the shadows of doubt still clouded his thoughts. Could he really step into the world beyond this stage? Listen, I'm organizing a workshop next month. Top performers, industry insights, networking, you should join. A workshop? Jake's mind raced at the thought. That could be life-changing but also deeply intimidating. Ryan continued, it's not just about winning anymore, Jake. It's about growth, learning, and evolving. You're already part of this dance community, why not take the next step? Because it's scary, Jake admitted, the vulnerability raw as it spilled out. Ryan nodded, a knowing smile playing on his lips. Yeah, fear is part of it. But so is passion. You felt it tonight on stage, haven't you? Don't let the fear paralyze you. Dance is about taking risks, and so is life. Jake felt a flicker of determination. Maybe this wasn't just about dancing against Ryan, it was about finding his own place among the stars. "Okay," Jake said finally, "I'll think about it." As Ryan walked away, Jake felt lighter. This conversation wasn't just a challenge, it was a lifeline. But as the minutes passed, a different thought gnawed at him. Did he even want to immerse himself further into this competitive world? Would it bring more risk than reward? Before he could find answers, the room echoed with cheers. The announcement of finalists loomed. Jake felt the excitement swell and the pressure mount. What if he was called? What if he wasn't? He swallowed hard, aware that the next chapter of his journey was about to unfold. Would he embrace the journey or shy away? In that moment, Jake felt the determination rise within him, but beneath it was a new question: could he face the fear that propelled him forward? Jake stood in the bustling backstage, heart thumping. The energy from the audience was still palpable, but an unsettling mix of anxiety and anticipation swirled within him. Cheerful laughter and animated chatter surrounded him, yet he felt increasingly distant. "Hey, Jake!" Tiffany called out, her voice buoyant. "They're about to announce the finalists. Are you ready?" He smiled weakly, forcing himself to nod. "Yeah, sure." His mind, however, was a chaotic whirl. What did it even mean to be ready? As he watched the crowd beyond the curtain, a volunteer scurried past with a walkie-talkie, announcing names, and Jake's heart raced every time he heard a familiar face called. Each name felt like a reminder of what he feared he might never achieve. If only he could harness the electric energy of the performance, blend it with the encouragement Ryan offered, and transform doubt into conviction. He drew in a deep breath and leaned against the cool steel of the wall. Closing his eyes, he recalled the moment he stepped on stage, a flood of light, the energy pulsing in time with his heartbeat, and the sensation of dancing like nothing else mattered. "Okay, Jake. You can do this," he whispered to himself, summoning courage from within. But the weight of self-doubt lingered, pressing heavily on his shoulders. "Jake! Jake!" Tiffany snapped him back to attention, her enthusiasm infectious. "They're announcing the last few names. Come on, it's time." His heart raced, pounding in rhythm with her words. He followed her through the curtain and into the chaos. The applause thundered again, and he felt the warmth and excitement roll over him like an incoming tide. Still, the lingering questions echoed in his mind. Did he really belong here? The host stepped forward, his voice bright and warm, capturing attention. "And the finalists are—" He paused dramatically, as the crowd erupted into cheers. Jake clenched his fists, eyes fixed on the stage. He barely registered the names of the first few dancers. Then, his heart skipped. Was the moment finally here? Unbelievably, the host finally said his name. Jake Thompson. A powerful rush hit him, sending electrifying chills down his spine. The claps and cheers filled his ears, drowning out everything else. He shook his head, hardly able to believe it. Tiffany squealed beside him, bouncing on her toes. He felt himself spiral into a state of disbelief, joy, and utter fear all at once. That he stepped forward, caught in the spotlight, surreal bliss mixing with adrenaline. Stepping so easily into that moment felt wondrous, but the doubt swirled heavier than ever now. Would he be enough? As he stood there with every eye on him, the anticipation thick, he fought the urge to turn and run. He thought of Ryan and their earlier conversation. Maybe he could embrace this moment, challenge himself not just to dance but to blossom beyond this stage. But how could he tell himself that, when his heart trembled with the fear of letting down everyone who believed in him? What if he stumbled? The overwhelming thought sent his pulse racing again. Jake forced his breath to steady, determination rising within him. He felt the weight of his fears seep into his core, but alongside it came a flicker of hope. Everything pivoted on this next moment. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw Ryan leaning against the backstage wall with a proud smile. Jake's heart quickened. This was not just about him anymore, it was about proving to himself that fear could be transformed into something powerful. "I won't let fear control me," "This is my chance," he whispered to himself, stepping further into the light, but with each step forward came a mounting realization this was only the beginning. What would he do if he fell? That question lingered in the air as he prepared to face the music, crafting a path where his fear could become his greatest ally. The competition might just lead him to something unforeseen, something life-changing. What if this was only the first test of courage? Jake was ready to find out. Jake took a deep breath as the spotlight warmed his face. Time seemed to slow. The noise of the crowd faded as he focused on the sheer possibility that lay ahead. This stage was not just wood and paint, it was a gateway and invitation to show who he truly was. He glanced at Ryan again, the quiet confidence in his friend's eyes a silent encouragement. Jake couldn't let this chance slip away, not when he had come so far. This was his moment, and despite the fear clawing at his insides, he felt a surge of determination. One foot in front of the other, he started to move. The music kicked in, vibrant and pulsing like the heart of the crowd. With each beat, his body responded instinctively. The choreography surged through him, a language he knew better than words. He remembered how he practiced for hours in his room, dancing for the joy of it all, not for validation. He lost himself in the rhythm. As he twirled and leapt, the weight began to lift. The fear that had threatened to drown him was transformed into a kind of fire, igniting his spirit. He could hear gasps, laughter, and cheers from the audience. It felt exhilarating, like flight. Each movement felt powerful, intentional, as if he were carving his own narrative into the air, but then came the moment of hesitation. A tricky turn, a complicated spin. Was he good enough? Just as doubt crept back in, he remembered Ryan's advice: embrace your mistakes, Jake. They're part of your story. And just like that, he allowed himself to dance freely without the chains of expectation holding him back. If he stumbled, he would find a way to rise again. The rhythm propelled him, guiding him through the next series of movements. He embraced the ebb and flow, a sensation of connection with everyone watching him. It was like holding hands with the souls in the audience, feeling their energy mingle with his. Applause erupted louder and louder. Tiffany stood at the edge of the stage, clapping enthusiastically, her grin wide. That was it, she believed in him, and he could feel that energy surging through him like a lifeline. As he neared the climax of the performance, Jake felt a rush of clarity. It was not about the competition. This dance was about freedom from fear, freedom to express the very essence of who he was. He leaped into the final spin. Around and around, the world blurred away. When he landed, breathless and exhilarated, the crowd erupted. Cheers and whistles filled the space, a wave of sound that washed over him. He took a moment to bask in their energy, his heart racing not from fear but from excitement. But just as Jake was about to relish the moment, his eyes caught sight of something unexpected in the audience, a face he recognized. A man in a dark suit, leaning forward with an intense, focused gaze. Something about his presence felt authoritative, yet intrigued. It sent a jolt through Jake. Who was he? What drew him to this performance? Jake's heart began to race again, a new kind of uncertainty swirling inside him. What would this powerful figure mean for his future? Had he seen something special that Jake himself had yet to understand? As the applause faded and he took his bow, all Jake could think about was the man in the audience. The competition may have been just the beginning, but there was something more waiting right around the corner. What would happen when the lights dimmed and the spotlight faded? The spotlight dimmed, and Jake's heart raced, caught between the thrill of his performance and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Torn between excitement and nervous anticipation, he took a few steps back, still feeling the energy of the crowd wrapping around him like a warm hug. He had danced not just to prove himself but to set his spirit free, and now, whatever happened next sprang from that newfound courage. As he walked off stage, the weight of the New York man's gaze lingered in the air. His instincts kicked in. Was there an opportunity waiting for him? Or was this just another reminder of how far away his dreams felt? He couldn't dwell too long, though. The cacophony of backstage chatter buzzed around him, electrifying the atmosphere. Jake! You were incredible. Tiffany rushed toward him, eyes sparkling like stars. I've never seen anyone dance like that. You totally owned it. Thanks, I felt good up there, he replied, his throat a little dry. The praise felt surreal, but before he could savor it, Ryan approached, still smiling. You did it, Jake. You kept up and then some. You were amazing. Ryan's compliment settled something inside. For the first time, Jake didn't see him merely as a rival but as a fellow artist. Jake beamed, swiping a bead of sweat from his brow. Thanks, Ryan. It felt right. As they exchanged small talk, the tension in the room shifted. A buzz spread through the crowd, volunteers were moving through the throng, and among them was the man from the audience. His sharp gaze swept through the group, finally landing on Jake. Excuse me, he called out, commanding attention. Young man, may I speak with you? Jake's heart dropped into his stomach. There was no turning back now. With hesitance painting his step, he walked forward, flanked by Tiffany and Ryan, who pretended to look casual but clearly were just as curious. I'm Mr. Stevens, the man said, extending his hand. I run a talent agency that specializes in bringing fresh, unique performers into the city. What you just did on that stage, he paused, a smile creeping onto his face. That was raw talent. You truly have a gift, Jake. Thank you, sir, he stuttered, barely able to process the unfolding reality. But I'm just starting out. I have no experience in anything other than my small town. Mr. Stevens chuckled softly, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Sometimes it's not about experience but the passion behind what you do. People feel what you express. And I believe you can go far if you want to. Jake felt the crowd slipping away now, the noise around him fading into a soft hum. This was the moment. The moment he had dreamed of, so far out of reach just days ago. His mother's sacrifices echoed in his mind, everything she had done for his future. Do you think I could, take this further? He asked, his voice almost tentative. Absolutely. But it will mean leaving the comfort of home, and taking risks. Are you ready for that? The weight of the question settled around them. Jake thought of his mother, her love like an anchor holding him steady. But he also thought about his dreams, his heart pulsing with the rhythm of new possibilities. Yes, he said, his voice clearer now. I'm ready to make it happen. It was a decision that filled the air with electricity, a commitment to step into the life he envisioned while carrying his roots with him. He was more than a dancer, he'd be a bridge between his past and the future he was about to create. Demar. Stevens clapped Jake on the shoulder, a knowing smile forming. Great. Let us get to work on that journey. With new energy pulsing through him, Jake turned to his friends, who were beaming with pride. I did it. We did it. I can't wait to see where this leads. Tiffany jumped up and down, her joy palpable. You're going to make it big, Jake. I just know it. Jake laughed, the tension from earlier easing into the thrill of the moment. Hope was no longer just a flickering dream, it was a blazing reality. He had his community behind him, his mother's love guiding him, and now, possibilities stretching infinitely ahead. As they stepped outside together into the night air, the sky seemed to sparkle with stars mocking the limits he had once felt. Tomorrow. Jake turned to his friends, excitement bubbling. Let us hit the ground running. Dance practice, brainstorming ideas, and figuring out how to balance this with home. I can do this, we can do this. They all nodded, their expressions mirroring his fierce determination. The light of dawn would greet him with new challenges, but the road felt clearer now. Jake was ready to navigate it all, hand in hand with the people he cherished. In that moment, he felt the foundation of his dreams changing. He wasn't just chasing a future, he was building it. And as soft laughter floated around him, Jake stepped forward, heart wide open to all that awaited. The journey was just beginning, and he wouldn't have it any other way. To the world watching, Jake's story didn't just end with a dance. It started with a leap of faith, a twist of fate showing how dreams could transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. So, if you felt that spark in his journey, if you believe in chasing dreams just like he did, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the next incredible stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the motivation flowing. Comment below and share how Jake's journey made you feel. Let's start a conversation. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Show your support for this channel and become part of our amazing community.